Hi everyone, my name is Tom Rochford and I am the manager of learning solutions here at HR Downloads. As a learning designer for the better part of my career, one place I always look for great learning insight is in the past. This is why we put together this series of videos for you all, so you can learn a little bit from past pandemics, take those lessons, apply them into the future, and hopefully bring a little bit more certainty into your lives. Our second video is going to be focusing on how to gain some perspective during the pandemic. And for that, I want to share with you a little story about the founding of Alibaba that really drills home the idea of perspective. Founded in China during the dot-com bubble, Alibaba is an online retailer that supplies mainly industrial inputs. Think Amazon for business. But for our story, I want to introduce you to Alibaba's founder and CEO. And I'm sure some of you know Jack Ma from his accomplishments, but also from this photo. This is Jack dancing to Michael Jackson's Thriller in full costume at what I believe was an internal company conference. He's quite the leader. But I want to share with you a moment, a watershed moment actually for Alibaba, and that moment happened during the SARS pandemic of 2003. For a little context, this is Alibaba's size now, around 500 billion in market cap. The moment in time I want to take you back is when they were about this size, all the way back to 2003 when Alibaba was actually still considered a startup. In fact, in 2002, it turned its first profit ever. And using that profit, Jack and the team wanted to enter the new industry of e-commerce. And at the time, they knew they needed to take on a behemoth competitor founded in America. And that competitor was eBay. I think most of us remember the glory days of eBay where we could find items like a vintage keyboard that is USB compatible for 2200 US, a cigarette butt smoked by Rihanna for 500 US, and two snowballs allegedly from New York City's largest snowball for the bargain price of $10,000 US, plus $2,000 shipping and handling. eBay's business model is a really important part about this story. This is how their business worked. Essentially, they took 10% of the final sale value up to a certain maximum and also charged minimal listing fees in some instances. So what does this have to do with Alibaba? Let's bring back our friend Jack first. There he is. I love this picture. At this point in Alibaba's history, they were in the process of launching a new competitor to eBay, who just entered the market a year earlier with a $250 million investment. And then SARS broke out. In late April, an Alibaba employee contracted SARS and the entire workforce required quarantine. The new platform, Taobao, was slated to launch May 10th, less than 2 weeks after the quarantine order was issued for their staff. It was in this moment that Jack had a deep realization of perspective. He knew that this would be the time where a mass re-engineering of customer behavior would occur. People would be forced to buy and sell online for the first time. He had his desktop computers of all of his employees shipped to their homes where they worked 12-hour days. Customer service calls were being routed directly to their employees' home lines. A small group of executives and developers huddled at Jack's residence, rushing to get the platform built on time. They practiced handshaking to transfer energy and keep the blood flowing. And alas, Taobao was launched on time, May 10th, 2003. Having met the deadline, Jack had a second moment of perspective. He decided to allow sellers to sell free for a period of 3 years. You can imagine how the big behemoth eBay felt. They were disrupted by a young and local Alibaba Group, and that they directly challenged the giant American competitor and had done so successfully while also providing a social benefit to the community during a time of need. Now that's a moment of perspective. The real lesson here is that there is hope, and many times the scarcity of a crisis can be a deep source of perspective and innovation for many. Now, we're not going out there and saying start a $500 billion tech company, but we can use these times to gain deep perspective about our organizations, our careers, and even ourselves. I want to show you all a little, an extremely simple tool to help you do all exactly that, gain a little bit more perspective. The tool is called the Wombat method, and Wombat stands for Wait, what might be all the ways? What might be all the ways? See, it's that simple. This method is called reframing, and oftentimes we use our past experience to guide our decisions, both business and personal. And it's safe to say that all of us haven't seen this level of global issue. Then that doesn't give us the analog we need to allow us to confidently make decisions. We need to try and focus on what we can control, and this exercise helps us frame the issues with that greater sense of control. This tool also allows us to see the world more broadly and can facilitate a bold shift in perspective. Let's take a quick look at this activity in practice. I've developed a list of sample questions here. The first one's a personal one. What will happen to my mental health if I spend 2 months in isolation with my family? You know, I was joking a bit when I wrote this, but I think that's a reality for a lot of people. And for myself, I would actually change my family to just me because I live alone. And I know it's going to be a long haul. So I've started to ask the question, I think you all should too. What might be all the ways to improve my mental health during isolation with my family? Already you can see by simply forcing that format, it forces you outside the frame of uncertainty and one of control. You've got to decide what to write after what might be all the ways. And sure, some depressed pessimists might say, oh, I can hurt my mental health by. But most of us will default to seeking a better frame. And that current frame of mind needs to be focused into a more positive frame. Let's have a look at that professional example. I'm sure some of you are thinking, what will happen to my career goals during the pandemic? Instead, ask what might be all the ways I can achieve my career goals during the pandemic. You can see why the CIA developed this exercise for problem solving. Just the question alone is an exercise in ideation and brainstorming. We've actually got a new training module coming out later this fall that really elaborates on this idea, so stay tuned for that as well. One last example. Stop asking the question, how will my organization survive the pandemic? But ask the question, what might be all the ways my organization can thrive during and after the pandemic? That rephrasing opens up a world of new potential opportunities and reframes the situation to be one of hope, not despair. You know, we've before we wrap, we've got a lot of other articles available on our blog that have to do with mental health. So please feel free to peruse those. Also, for our clients and users, we have a great workplace wellness area of our training catalog. So be sure to have a look at that and identify potential courses that align with some of the issues that your employees might be facing during this difficult time. Okay, that's the end of the video. We sincerely hope you grabbed some insights that brought a bit more certainty into your lives during this incredibly uncertain time. You know, our team at HR Downloads is working hard to consume and analyze the most up-to-date events relating to the pandemic. We're all working really hard but safely to contextualize these events and provide thoughtful analysis, build useful templates, and are always here to support you during this time. From all of us at HRD, thank you for taking the time. Stay strong and stay healthy.